This episode, it's tax time. Well, it's John and Larry's favorite time of year again. Yeah. So we
Santa.
decided, yeah, it's from Santa.
Yeah.
That's right. Or Santa's, it's actually from the Grinch.
Yeah.
But anyway, be that as it may, the Handyman Pros thought we'd have a discussion on making your tax season as easy as possible. Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This episode is entitled It's Tax Time. And to help me explain, Johnny.
Yep, it's tax time.
I even left off my ever cheerful co-host and old buddy because it's just
it's tax time.
It's tax time. Yeah, it's tax time. Well, we want to put out all our our legal terms. We're not giving tax advice here, so don't expect any of that. If you want that, you're more than welcome to contact us by email, and we will give you all of the bad advice that we can.
No,
but
I'm not going to give you any advice.
It.
Go search out a certified CPA.
All I'll do is give you resources to go look things up yourself. That's what I'll do. So, with that, that's it. Johnny, any good stories from this week? Anything going on?
Anything good going on?
You've been busy. You've been busier than I have been.
Yeah. It's just all of a sudden it's it seems like it's the cycle of toilets again. Wood rot. I just replaced a windowsill, and it's just one thing after another. Now we've got a bunch of calls for more toilet stuff. I don't know what's going on, which is like we've done shows on that or made mention of it before. It seems like every once in a while these cycles just start.
You get
one
into
thing's
these cycles.
can you put down flooring, then it's wallboard, wallboard after wallboard. Then it's wood rot after wood rot. Now it's
wood rot after wood rot.
It's like crazy.
And...
It's crazy, but the weather here is starting to break. I keep, I probably said this show over show, but I've been still working on my deck, and I just want to do a little bit at a time because it's cost me a lot of money to, if I had to put all new wood down on my deck all at once. So I kind of keep picking away at it every time I go by one of the big box stores, get another 5 or 6 boards.
Folks, I've got to tell you, this is a daily occurrence. John's like, I'm at Home Depot. I'm buying deck boards. I'm like, every day? He's like, yeah, pretty much.
So now I'm up to, I think I've replaced about 30 of them. And it's just every time I look down, I'm like, man, that thing's got to go, boy, after all these years. But anyways, you do what you can and try to fit in between jobs. So
I wanted to mention one thing while you brought it up, that you swapped out that windowsill. Would you relate your experience with that windowsill, mostly about the particular material that you used and the cost of that material compared to the options, if you would?
Oh yeah. So I was in just to buy all new windowsill material. Now, today they come as a 2-piece. One is kind of the sill and then the nose. You
right.
can get it, either as finger jointed and primed pine or PVC. Well, you think that the PVC would be a lot more expensive than the pine, and that to me was not the case when I went in. It actually, I think it was for 7 feet of the PVC. I think it was just the sill itself was $40, and I think the nose was like $17 or $18 for 7 feet of it. For the pine, I think it was like $50. And for the nose of the pine, I think it was like I want to say like the very close is like $19, something like that. I was surprised. I don't know anybody out there in the audience, give us a, drop us a line or something, or, get on our Facebook and just discuss this. Cause, I didn't know if I was seeing things or what, but why not go with the PVC and you're once and done, right? You're just
right.
done with it. So, Yeah.
Yeah, because you and I discussed that, and you didn't even know that they made PVC sills, and then I knew they did because I've done it with PVC, and I told you, I said, I think as you remember, I told you, I said it's going to be expensive, and you're going to have to buy 7 or 8 feet of it. Or you got to buy a
Yeah.
whole stick, is
It
what it
comes in.
is.
It's funny. It comes in 7 foot, not 8 foot. Now,
Yeah, I know.
because probably the windows, the way windows are, but my windows in my house are different sizes and widths and everything. So I don't know where they came up with the 7 feet. I guess I'll have to do some of that calculation.
Don't know, don't care, but that's
Yeah,
what it comes in.
yeah,
And
it's kind
and
of
the shocker was when you were actually in the big box store when you called me on that one, and I was shocked that the pine was more. And then it did get to the point of like, why would you do pine
right.
on a windowsill then?
Yeah.
Because that it's always
So,
prone to rot,
so
always, because it's the
here's
bottom, right? It's
y-
the bottom.
yeah.
Yeah.
So here's what I think is happening here is that the pine, I think you can cut that and it's charged by the foot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so
That makes
but
sense.
if you apples to apples, 7 feet to 7 feet, it was more expensive.
It was more expensive, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
I just wanted you to bring that up.
yeah,
Let's get on
yeah,
get on our talk. We were going to talk about making the tax season
yeah,
go easier, but I just wanted people to hear that because it's if you ever contemplate it, it's not a simple job, but it's not a hard job, and at the same time, but you definitely think use PVC when you're going to that bottom piece, and now it's less expensive on a per foot basis. So why wouldn't you?
Anyways,
That's what
Larry,
it
it's
is.
tax time, baby.
It's tax time, Johnny. It's tax time.
Oh
Yes.
God.
And it is one of my most unfavorite times of the year because in all the years of being in business, you know what I hate the most about tax time besides having to pay the taxes is actually just doing the work to get like it's to me it's the most unproductive thing I do all year. I have to actually work to pay money. That just is Johnny, we're doing a show on the bug list. I think that's going to make my bug list. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah, I agree. So let me start out by saying, we've had shows in the past on accounting systems, and one of the benefit to the accounting system, there's many, right? But to keep you organized and also make it very easy at tax time to pull all your numbers together for your accountant, okay, or your CPA, or if you're doing things yourself on software or whatever. I just find it at this point in my life, I find it easier to hire somebody to help me do my taxes than to go through and spend a lot of time doing them myself. However, the point of the show is just how to make things easier. So Larry, before the show, we were talking about pulling numbers together and
yep.
being able to take all the data out and get organized. And surprisingly, when I did that, it didn't take me very long to do it.
No, because you're using a good program.
And we're using some good software, and that gives me the ability to take those numbers, pull them together, and then to give that to my CPA.
Right. So there's a couple things I just want to pull out here. Number one, both you and I use a tax professional, right? So
Correct.
I have an accountant that
Yep.
does more. He gives me advice on more than just taxes, but we actually manage the tax load to a degree. We manage the tax load as best we can because folks, if you haven't gotten sideways on your taxes, meaning you basically either you make too much money or you purchase things the wrong way, mostly capital equipment, sometimes it can really burn you. And I don't want to we're not going to give tax advice, but you need to have a good tax professional. And I think,
Agreed.
yeah, and a couple of the things on that are just, you might have to interview a bunch of people. It's basically like hiring somebody. So there's a million pounds of resources out there, and go online and look up. There's a great one, a guy called the Wealthy Accountant. He's out of Wisconsin, and the only reason that I mention him is he's somebody that if you run a small business, he really understands the small business thing. And what you're trying to find, if you listen, he does podcasts, he does blogs, he does a lot of great information. But what you're trying to find there is when you go to interview somebody, you want to have a few points to check off about how he, like if you listen to him, you'll understand why you need somebody like him. So then blah blah blah.
Yeah.
One of the other things, John, we talked about, an accountant or a tax professional is supposed to do what for you?
Well, I'll tell you what I use them. Use them for is to keep me straight. From the perspective of I'm not trying to slide by on any of my taxes or
Right.
anything, but
Yep.
I want to keep everything above board and be able to not miss anything, any deductions, and not um, shall we say, inadvertently miss paying taxes on something.
Yes.
So that keeps you out of it keeps you in the best of both worlds. Keep you out of hot water and also be able to adjust your taxes accordingly for deductions.
Are tax professionals expensive?
They can be, but
But they
they
should do
but
what?
the deal is that it's for me it's the return that I get.
Right. So for every dollar you spend, you expect to get $1 plus out of your tax professional.
Yes, as well as in some intangibles like reduce headaches,
Yeah, peace of mind for
peace of
sure.
mind, and also it gives me back a lot of time.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just for everybody out there, if you're just starting off in business or whatever, or not even in business, you might be doing your own taxes on TurboTax or what have you. Um, it's great if you're simplified. Hey, you can get away with that. But I found that as I got a little bit more complex, that I was spending a lot of time doing it, and it became such a headache
Yep.
and time consuming that I have no problem paying for the service.
Yeah,
Does that
basically
make
it's
sense?
kind of it's kind of an allocation of time, right? So, you do your job, they do their job, right? I mean, if you're making whatever you're making per hour, pay them whatever because they do what they do, and you can probably make more doing your job than you can for what you pay them for the amount of time it takes you. Plus, there's always that uncertainty factor. Like the tax code's 13,000 pages. I mean, it's
Well,
immense, and
there
there's no way you can know it all. It's
yes,
just
and
impossible.
therein lies another thing, and that is you brought up just interviewing people.
Mhm.
It's kind of like an interview, and you really do need to have some kind of a rapport with these people if you can
Yes.
find a good one. A lot
Yes.
of them, yeah, but they'll run it. They're kind of your computer, right? You hand them a shoebox full of receipts and whatever else, and then they do everything. But it is nice to have a sounding board and be able to say, "Hey, I'm about to buy a new
Whatever.
truck, a
Yep.
trailer, some
Yep.
capital for whatever. How should I do this? Any tips on that? All those
It's
kind of things." And they also, like you just alluded to, is that hey, it's the tax code is really complex
and it
and
changes
it
all the time.
changes, and they
Yeah.
know right off the cusp because they're dealing with all kinds of other things. I mean, they live this stuff. I
Yeah.
don't.
Yep.
I don't want
Right.
to. I hate
Right.
pushing numbers around. I'm a sales guy, and the last thing salespeople like to do is paperwork. And I'll tell you that right now. If you like to do
Right there with
paperwork,
you,
you're not a
buddy.
salesperson.
That's exactly right. So,
So
yeah, so get a good one, and do understand they're a valuable member of your team. We use our tax professional the most probably in late summer and early fall because we're actually preparing. We're looking at our year to that point and figuring out what we need to do to basically do some planning and things like that. So it's kind of one of those funny things. It's like if we need to buy a piece of capital equipment because A, we need it, and B, we can take some tax advantage of it. We're looking at it at that time of year. Now there's a certain amount of planning that we can't do because of things break and stuff like that. But anyway, we do a tax planning sessions throughout the year. And so it's really, really important when you get into business, if you're in business for yourself, this isn't just a W-2 person. If you're a W-2 and you have a pretty simple return, use a TurboTax or whatever. But when you start getting into business and dealing with a lot of different stuff, then it gets really complicated. And as John just said, it takes way too much time. It's really not worth it. So anyway,
I'll tell you the other thing that simplified things for us personally is we don't have anybody that works for us.
right. Yep.
So that makes things simple. So some of you folks out there that have bigger businesses than Larry and I, that have, you might be hiring people. I'm sure that you're, going through an accountant.
If you're not, you need to be because
Exactly.
don't hire anybody without having a tax professional and a lawyer online. That's just my opinion, but trust me, you can get yourself anybody that I know that's really gotten into problems with the government taxation agencies has gotten in trouble. The biggest one is the Labor Department because they failed to pay the Social Security and all the
Yes.
other stuff. And
Yes.
oh my God, and they just eat you up. I mean, they can and they do. And I mean, I have a very good friend who this is back when we were in our 20s. I learned my lesson from him. I mean, they were going to take his house. I mean, it was
Yeah.
bad, and it
Yeah.
was just because he was just managing cash and he wasn't really paying attention. And he sort of, it's a long story anyway, but it was bad. Anyway, with that, let's move on. So the other thing now, a good tax professional is going to tell you to have a good software program. We use Wave. It works great for what you and I do. If we had a more complicated business, we'd probably have to do something else. There's plenty of spreadsheet opportunities. There's all kinds of things, but have a good program. Have an idea of how you want to do it. And my thing about good programs has to do with coding, meaning how many categories do you have for the various aspects of your business life? And this goes for your home as well. Like your home is a business, right? John, do you agree with that?
Yes, yes. And I was just going to say, along those lines, as you're talking about like the chart of accounts, but the
Yeah.
Wave, the program that Larry and I use is just it's a very comprehensive program for little guys. I mean,
Yes.
it's easy to use.
Yes.
Um, so I find myself, when you talk about coding, I find myself, if I'm at a gas station or getting maintenance on my car or what have you, I can just immediately on my phone just write down, in that software what just transpired and how much it was, and categorize it,
Yep.
and you're
Yep.
done.
And you're done. And then it comes up, at the end at this time of year. And I tell you this because I actually just got all my information together to give to my tax professional. And one of the things that I always look at, I print off a report of the cash flow statement, basically, income versus expense. And then I always look at the expenses because I want to see what's coded, right? So I had something like, not that the number matters, but about $2,000 of uncategorized expenses. Well, I knew in advance that if I handed my accountant $2,000 in uncategorized expenses, he was going
You're
to
going to
send
say,
it
what
back
the
to
hell
me.
was that?
He's going to say, what the hell was that? So what I did is then I just went in and opened up each of those things.
And
And what I found out is that it wasn't that Wave will automatically categorize things as an uncategorized expense if it doesn't recognize it, right? So that's what it had done. It had put a bunch of things that basically into this and so I just went through, and it wasn't that many. The beauty of it is it wasn't that many items. It took me probably 30 minutes to fix, the $2,000. And we went from $2,000 in uncategorized to zero in uncategorized because everything had a place to
yeah.
be. There was like, for example, almost all of my Home Depot stuff gets put under parts and materials because I don't buy anything at Home Depot other than parts and materials,
Right.
right? Well, for whatever reason, it had pulled a couple of Home Depots and put them under, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. It put them in uncategorized. Well, so that was an easy change. Parts and material, And anyway, I went down I went down item by item and did that. And usually I do that on a monthly basis. These were actually from way early in last year. So anyway, long story short, having a good program and the coding things properly. Get with your tax professional. Each business is a little bit different, And so like when I ran the vending company, we had a lot of data. We did a lot of data mining. We really wanted to know exactly what was selling and where. But in this business for me now, I keep it relatively broad. I mean, I do break out labor versus materials. And I actually break my labor down into 3 categories, but I don't know why I do that. Mostly just so I know, like, am I doing daily rate, job rate, or hourly rate? That's how I break my categories
Right,
down.
right.
But
And
that's all called
I
coding.
do the same thing, and
Yeah.
it's easy to take, for this, if you guys are spreadsheet guys, too, is you can dump this stuff into a spreadsheet and then
Yep. Yep.
slice and dice to your heart's content. I will tell you another thing. If you don't sign, you guys out there should sign up for the pro accounts at the big box like Home
Oh,
Depot or
100%.
Lowe's,
Yeah, 100%.
and all your receipts and everything are stashed in their program, and they also email all the receipts to you.
Yep.
And over the year, I went back through and just dumped, just looked at all my receipts from Home Depot,
Yep.
and you can, put it job codes and stuff for for your jobs, whoever they are or whatever. And it's a way to help
Double
you
check. Yeah.
slice and dice those things up as well. So you can start to reconcile between, your books and here's the receipts, and it's all electronic. Okay. So you don't have to have a whole shoebox filled with stuff.
Yeah, but Johnny, I like my shoebox.
I know you do.
I mean,
It's weird. You like to
every
smell
year
it.
I have all my receipts. I just, anyway, long story short. So just one other quick thing on the pro accounts, right? Folks, if you're not a member of a pro account, the different big box stores have different programs, but most of them actually, if you're in a particular store every time, you can get a pro representative. And I found in Lowe's in particular is one of my more favorites. They will match just about anybody in pricing along with the normal pricing that they give you. They give you a price discount for being a member in the pro accounts, for all the things, or not all, but for most of the things that you buy. But if you're ever doing like I just got drywall, a lot of drywall done, and it was delivered, okay, because Larry's not moving,
Yeah.
a whole house worth of drywall. Well, I had gotten a couple of quotes, and my Lowe's representative actually matched the quotes, and she waived the delivery fee. I was like, whoa, that's like hoorah, and so
Well,
I mean, there's advantages to doing it. So anyway,
there
enough
you
said.
go. There you go.
So that's saving you money as well.
Right.
Just
And so, this show, I hope you folks, your takeaway here is just to stay organized, and here's the way you can do it,
yeah.
electronically. And I love it because now I don't have to have all this stuff hanging all over me, and I can go in and just one or two places and pull it all together.
And pull it all together. So one other thing that you wanted to bring this up, but we're going to talk about this is mileage, right? Because mileage is huge at tax time, particularly like recently, it's getting good. So John and I do it different ways. My vehicle is basically it's about 100% use for business. I mean, it's 99.8% business use, and every once in a while I drive it, for other reasons, but it's pretty rare. So, I mean, really rare. Like the wife is not like, oh, hey, let's take the,
Right.
the van out for dinner. No, that never
You
happens.
guys don't take that out to like Denny's?
No.
Take her out for a big dinner at Denny's in that truck.
She's
The
throwing
Waffle
daggers
House?
at you right now, Johnny. Daggers, I'm telling you. Anyway, be that as it may, mine's 100%. So my ability to keep my mileage records is really quite simple. I just I write my mileage down. I get a gas receipt every time, and I write the mileage on every receipt that I get. I do that for a couple of reasons. One is at tax time, all I have to go back and look at is the first receipt for the year, and I've got my mileage because I'm always buying gas usually within a day or two of the first of the year. And if I'm off a few miles, it costs me a couple of bucks, but whatever, that's my problem. So I always keep, and I also mark it in my notes that I write, on the first of the year, I write down my mileage and I put it in my notes. And then the last day of the year, I take my mileage again, and then I just take a nominal amount out for about 1% out because I drive my vehicle full time. That's as simple as it gets. You, on the other hand, you drive your vehicle for both personal and business work. So tell us how you do it, Johnny, because mine's really simple.
Yeah, so I don't know the percentage breakout. It doesn't really matter. But I've come to I've come to use a program that I've got on my iPhone, and it just automatically tracks my mileage. So no matter where I go, it comes up with a little map on each segment of the trip of where I've been, where I went, where I've been, and the amount of the mileage. That way I don't even have to worry about it. And then at the end, like every once in a while, I'll go in, and then you can swipe one to the right. It's business, to the left it's personal, and
Yep.
that's the way I keep it. So then I can just dump out all my business mileage into like Excel, add it all up, give it to my accountant.
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're
And
and you're done. And it's a nice automatic way of tracking your mileage without saying, oh damn, I forgot to write down where I went today. So if you guys are in the same boat as I am, and your vehicle's being used, and even if your vehicle even if it isn't your main vehicle, you might use a nicer vehicle to go visit potential customers, just to do
right.
quotes.
And that's a business
And that's a
expense.
business expense. So you may want to just look into these kind of things. And I will tell you, it's funny, Larry, you say that on your receipts and stuff. I actually do record my fuel stuff, but I also make notes. Not that I take my fuel and my mileage at the same time. You can't do that, but it's like I do make an entry in Wave into our accounting system with my notes. A transaction in there, and I'll flash the receipt
Yep.
just for me, just to know where how much it was, so that I can track how much I used in gasoline
Yep. Yep.
for that.
I write it down on the thing because every once in a while I just pull the mileage. I want to see where, what kind of mileage I'm done. Because coming out of that medium and heavy duty truck business when I did this 4 years ago, one indication that your vehicle is having problems is if your mileage drops even by small percentages. So I do it for maintenance reasons. Morally, I want to just see that I'm
Yep.
holding in a particular range of about, unfortunately, it's about 13 and a half miles per gallon, and and if I'm low, if I'm in the 12s, I better be towing my trailer is what it
Yeah.
boils down to.
Yeah.
If I'm not towing my trailer, then I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So
What's
that's the
going?
reason
Yeah.
I keep it. I
Yep.
just want to kind of have
Yep.
an idea of my mileage, of what my actual miles per gallon is, because it's an indication that there potentially could be something wrong with the vehicle. So that's why I keep it along for tax reasons. But and plus it's just the way I am. I just sometimes I like to have that. So I like to have access to it. It doesn't mean I use it. I just like to. So one thing we were talking about tax professionals, and this comes in with mileage. And the reason that you need a good tax professional, we had talked a little bit about this, but a lot of this has to do with policy changes, right? And we're talking about mileage. And John, you just looked it up. So I think is it 2022 that the mileage is 58 cents a mile, 58.5?
Yes, that's what I saw. And then
And then it's going to what?
65 in this year, 2023.
Yeah. So folks, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. The programs that you might be using, the turbo taxes and stuff, will obviously take that into account. But
Maybe.
well, no, they do. But you
Do they?
need to understand, the policy changes, and that's just one that really can make a huge impact. So once again, it's great to be able to talk to, if you've got a CPA and be able to talk to these folks.
Yeah, and get some tax planning, because you always need, you do have to plan your taxes. I mean, I hate to say that, but a lot of it is just, especially we're in the tool business, right? I mean, we're in the tool business, right, John?
Yep.
And our tools break. I hate to say that, but they do every once in a while. And we do have we have consumable tools as well, like saw blades. But if you're thinking about buying any major tools or any package of big tools, you kind of gotta you need to tax, you need to and
Just
at least
like
tax.
just like any
anything.
business,
Yeah.
you got to plan your taxes, and there's advantages for buying capital, goods in the calendar year.
Yeah, during certain calendar years.
Yep.
If you've had a really good year, it's time to buy some equipment. That's
Right.
what it boils down to. You're either going to pay it in taxes or you can buy equipment. What do you
Yeah.
want to do? It's up to you.
Yep.
It's up to you. It's your call. But that's it. Do we have anything else on taxes, John? Is there anything else we wanted to get across?
No, not I just wanted to I think basically just talk about how to make this easier on everybody.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, obviously I've been doing this a long time, but I don't know anything about taxes, and I don't want to know it.
Yeah.
That's hence this discussion. But being able to pull all your information together is a key aspect of sleeping at night. Let's put it that way.
It really is. The other side of it is, and this is something. So I will give one tip. One of my tips is, I go through my books about at least once a month, sometimes about every 2 weeks, just depends how busy I've been. And that's back to like coding, like I talked about earlier, where I'm coding. I want to make sure everything's coded right. And I also want to kind of balance my accounts. But the other advantage to doing all of this stuff, particularly if you're using a good program, is it really can tell you where you are financially for the year, meaning you pull up your cash flow report. It's like, am I having a good year or a bad year? Well, I hate to guess. I like to know. So it gives you that advantage too. There's a whole lot of reasons to do it, but that's
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah.
So
No.
anyway,
Yeah. I look at mine every so often. How am I doing? What's going on? You got to keep. You really do have to keep on top of this, and it just the easier it is. I think it's just a peace of mind that you can get to this information quickly and it's accurate. So
Johnny, see,
that's it.
the big thing that Johnny has is Johnny has to figure out how he's going to write off his tools for taking apart the spaceships. That has
Yeah.
been the thing
Yeah.
because, as you know, folks, you never just look at it.
Right. You
You
got to take it apart.
You got to take it apart. All right.
All right.
With that, if you enjoy the Handyman Pros Radio Show, please tell your friends and neighbors. We would really appreciate it. Send them a link to this craziness if you find it to be useful. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. If you would like to be a guest on the show, send us an email at questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. And if you would just have a category you'd like us to talk about, handymanprosradioshow.com. Send us an email. With that, we will see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.